And that's the difference between a hex socket and a pass-through socket. Anyway, just,
Zesty diesel.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44.
Hulu's King of the Hill reboot / revival / new season / whatever the fuck they're calling it has a lot of expectation to live up to. Despite some pretty mid episodes toward the end, I think the original King of the Hill has a very special place in a lot of people's hearts. So obviously a lot of people are going to have a really strong emotional reaction to it whenever they reboot it if they don't like it and think it's a cash grab. So whether you're mentally ill for King of the Hill or you turned your box TV off whenever this shit came on as a kid, we're going to be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly for King of the Hill Season 14. I think there's a lot to like about the new King of the Hill season. I went in with very low expectations, basically expecting it to be like...
I look up the evidence using an app on my iPhone.
Don't just reference modern shit, you idiot! That's not comedy!
But I was actually like really surprised with how fresh it managed to be. There's like a few topical jokes that don't really land.
At least you didn't have to get lectured about how you have internalized misogyny.
The new norm ain't the same as the old norm.
I was actually pleasantly surprised for the most part. I think most of them are pretty funny, like GH saying I got that dog in me during the the Walmart Andrew Tate episode. That was pretty funny. That got a chuckle out of me, I won't lie. That shit was pretty funny. I think a lot of the comedy in the new episodes is very character driven, which is something I really liked about those earlier seasons of King of the Hill, is just how character driven the comedy was. Like Bill, like in the new season, like Bill at the black barbershop or Hank doing a 180 on soccer. Those are really funny because of those characters, I think, and that's something that I really like about the original King of the Hill that is still present here. There's a lot of really great visual gags as well, like the newspaper clipping of Dale winning the election. You look at his face and it just looks like he did not actually think he would win the election at all. That's like a very small little detail that I'm glad they added, because the original had like a lot of very small detailed visual gags or stuff like that, and I'm really grateful to see that they're keeping the spirit of the original with stuff like that as well. A kind of cool thing about the reboot, I like it, some people might not like it. Reboot is very sort of self-aware about what it is. It makes a joke about reboots or revivals a couple times. I feel like it kind of uses that to its advantage, though. Like the episode where Hank does a 180 on soccer, Hank ends up loving soccer because soccer is just a big field of grass, and he gets a love for the turf, and then he loves the sport, which I think that's like very... I think that's very cool because it explains why Hank did a 180, but then Dale, he's like super suspicious of Hank, so he starts like surveilling Hank, and he hires Bill to surveil Hank and all this other stuff. That is something that both of those characters would do, but I feel like Dale is sort of a stand-in for the audience in that episode who wouldn't believe that Hank would do a 180 on soccer. I think it's very cleverly written, and I really like it. I don't know if you guys do, but I thought it was fucking hilarious. Another thing I noticed is that Hank and Peggy going to Saudi Arabia is more of a reason for the writers to put the old people in the audience into the position of Hankhill and Peggy, where old people are kind of like the last to find out about new technology. And so, I mean, Hank wasn't fucking frozen in carbonite when he was in Saudi Arabia. He should know what Uber and DoorDash is, but yeah, it's kind of a clever way for them to make the show more palatable to an older generation, so the older generation can kind of like put themselves in Hank Hill's shoes, or at least that's how I kind of feel about the Hank and Peggy going to Saudi Arabia bit. I do really like how accessible the show is. That's another thing I was going to mention, is that it does very much feel true to the spirit of the original, where they're, you know, like making fun of both sides of the political aisle. It doesn't feel like the new norm in terms of like conservative media, but it doesn't feel like woke liberal bullshit like you know it might be. Somebody on the internet is going to call the new King of the Hill woke. I fucking guarantee it. I bet $100 people are calling it woke on the internet right now. I haven't been like reading reviews and stuff for this, but somebody's going to call it woke. I fucking guarantee it. Somebody's going to say they put a person in a headscarf in the first few episodes of the show. The show is woke now. They're literally on a fucking flight back from Saudi Arabia. Shut the fuck up. I think the new King of the Hill, I think it's very natural. It doesn't feel forced. Obviously, most, shows that have a season after like 10, 15 years, they're going to feel very forced. But I think the new King of the Hill, it didn't feel super forced to me. There was a couple, like, kind of plot contrivances maybe. I'll probably get into those later. But yeah, I liked the new King of the Hill for the most part. I think natural is a very good word for it. I'd say it definitely pleases fans of the original while keeping stuff fresh and interesting to people who may be new or haven't seen as many episodes. But I definitely would not say it's perfect, so we'll get into... One thing that definitely got a lot of attention when the show was doing the press tour was the animation. And yeah, it's not great. Honestly, it's pretty bad. Although, to be honest with you, I think they picked the worst looking scene in the entire season to promote the show with. And it was one of the first looks that people got at the new season. So, obviously, people are going to dunk on it if it looks bad. Because that one scene with them walking through the museum, those walk animations look like fucking Go Animate. But, honestly, it's like the worst looking scene of the whole season, honestly, just because it shows off those kind of lifeless walking cycles. But the rest of the season, to me, it's not that bad. They pulled a real fallout with the museum clip where they just released the most cringe looking clips possible to get people to hate watch their show. It works. That's probably why you're here right now, because you're looking for something to hate watch. But yeah, I do think the new animation definitely has like very stiff, lifeless, kind of feels like a skinwalker has stepped inside the corpse of our dear friend Hankhill, but I don't think it holds the show back at all. It's not noticeable after like an episode or so. It doesn't really limit any of the cool angles or shots that I kind of really like about the original. Do not fear, guys. The cinematography in the King of the Hill revival is really good still. I know that's why we all watch the show, is because of the fucking directing. I know me and a lot of other people really like the classic hand-drawn style, but let's be honest, there's no way that they would be able to go back to like a hand-drawn style or anything like that. It would just be commercially not possible. I do like they have like a filter on some of like the interior spaces to make it look a bit more textured, so it doesn't just look like empty, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, animation is definitely show gets docked a point or two because of the animation. I mentioned earlier that there's a few jokes that don't really land in the reboot. The ones that don't land are fucking groan-inducing, I will lie. There's only a few of them, but they kind of made me roll my eyes. Particularly the internalized misogyny line, and Hank calling himself a nepo baby felt like really weird to me. I could see Hank making jokes about himself getting canceled, but like sarcastically calling yourself a nepo baby requires like a certain snark, a certain level of like self-awareness, a certain level of like nepotism, or a certain level of like disdain for nepotism that I don't really see Hank possessing. It felt like a very strange line for him to say. Another thing that really disappointed me this time around was the new voice actors. Particularly, I think Khan's new voice actor is really bad. Apologies to Ronnie Chang. I was not aware of Ronnie Chang before this. Apparently, he is a very successful stand-up comedian. He should keep doing that. He should keep doing stand-up comedy because his performance as Khan is lacking. I'm sorry. I really do not care for his performance as Khan here. It doesn't really feel like the same character even. Khan has lost like a lot of his traditional like enunciations and his accent. It really does not really feel like the same character. Khan kind of acts like his old self, but it really just doesn't feel like the same character. I think Khan feels more like a skinwalker than Hank does. I made the skinwalker joke about Hank. Khan actually feels like he's been fucking replaced with a clone in this season. It's very weird. Given spoilers, I'm assuming you don't care about spoilers if you're this far into the review, but given the fact that they made him and Min divorce anyways, I don't know, I almost feel like they should have just made Khan move. I feel like they should have just gotten rid of him, because then you just have like this Cleveland Brown situation where it sounds like you have a guy doing an impression of the voice on your actual voice cast. It's very jarring. I think it's very jarring. I think it especially doesn't help that Khan's only episode this season, he's with men a lot who didn't get recast. So it just feels like she's arguing with a new character, almost. I don't know. Khan's recast is very weird. I don't like it. I don't think I can say a lot more on it. I'm white, so what am I going to add to the discourse of casting a non-white actor in a non-white role? Apparently Ronnie Chieng is not Laotian, though, so it's still not... It's still... I don't know. I'm white. Notably, Ted Wasanasong has been recast as well, but honestly, I didn't even notice. I kind of forgot his original funny-ass voice.
Super nice. Yes, there's no two ways about it. He's super white. Mr. Ho says, let's do it, Hank. Let's play some golf. Super nice.
Ted's original voice was extremely funny, but it didn't quite rub on me as much, just because his felt more natural, I suppose. I could see Ted Wasanasong's American commercial guy voice. I could see that kind of fading away as he gets to be an old man and doesn't really give a shit about appearances as much. I could see that fading away with time. But Khan had his very thick accent into adulthood, so it doesn't really make sense to me. The in-universe explanation just doesn't make as much sense to me that he would lose his accent after living in America for so long. Because as many people have pointed out, the original show implied that they've lived in America for like a long-ass time by them getting kicked out of like Orange County, or presumably California. Like Orange County or whatever. So, I don't know. Didn't like the recasts, but what can you say? Overall, I think the recasts for Khan and Ted really hurt their episode. Honestly, I think their episode is one of the weaker ones of the new season. Overall, I think a lot of the episodes are very good. I would say for the most part, all the episodes are very solid. I think episodes 8 and 10 were the weakest ones for me. That's the Khan episode and the Buck Strickland rug pull analogy episode, which I thought was clever, but it just wasn't very funny to me. I thought it was like well written, but it didn't have me like busting my gut laughing like some of the other reboot episodes did. And also, I thought there was 12 episodes, so when I got to the end of the 10th episode, I was very sad. Like I said, the other episodes are great, though. If you don't like them, if episode 8 and 10 are your favorite, I'm sorry. Argue about it in the comments. Maybe I'll come around. But that about wraps it up for the bad. So we're going to move on to... I've been kind of avoiding the elephant in the room regarding the absence of a few characters from the revival, and I'm far from the first person online to mention it, but where the hell is Luann and Lucky? Obviously, most people are aware of the real-life deaths of voice actors Tom Petty and Brittany Murphy, but for them to go the entire season without mentioning either of them just feels a little bit weird. The showrunners have mentioned that they're not going to be recasting the roles or anything out of respect for the original actors, which is really cool. That does feel very refreshing in an age of endless recasts, revivals, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm watching the revival, the reboot, so I guess it wouldn't be... Anyways, it's nice to see. At the same time, I almost wish there was just like one throwaway line, like Peggy maybe like, "Oh yeah, Luann and Lucky are doing really well in McManorberry." You know, that would have been kind of nice, I guess. It would have hit right here, but I can see why they wouldn't even want to reference those characters in the first place. It almost makes me wonder why they didn't just off-screen Khan and say that he fucking moved to a different county or something if they were going to recast his voice actor and make him feel like a completely different person. But that's just me, though. Although some of the new characters in the revival definitely help to fill the void of Luann. Not really Lucky. I don't really like Lucky. The show definitely feels a bit empty without Luann, though. So I will be curious to see how they deal with that moving forward. Because Season 15 has already been renewed. The show's already been renewed for a Season 15. So we will be getting a Season 15. But it's going to be really difficult to see, where they go from here. Because the show is not only going to have to overcome Luann's passing, they're going to have to overcome... I'm curious what they'll do with John Redcorn, actually, because if you guys remember, John Redcorn's voice actor was actually murdered earlier this year. So that's extremely sad. I feel like they won't recast his role out of respect either. So that means this season could be the last we see of John Redcorn, which is really unfortunate because I really like John Redcorn. My heart really goes out to the showrunners because it can't be easy dealing with so much death being around you working on the show. So, especially, you know, with the death of Johnny Hardwick as well, I think it'll be very difficult for the show runners to sort of write around that next season. Because John Redcorn obviously is a very big part of the show. Jonathan Joss had to be part of their family, so to speak. So, definitely very sad. My heart goes out to the staff. You know, very sad for them. I think the show will have a lot of difficulty working around a lot of the departures of cast members next season, but I'll be very excited to see what they do. You know, I did enjoy this season, so hopefully the next season will be good as well. There was some mid-episodes, but fingers crossed next season is going to be goated. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed my video just as much as I enjoyed the new season. So, thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this one, smash that fucking like button. Smash that fucking subscribe button. I haven't been uploading a lot of long-form YouTube content lately, and I apologize for that, but I've been focusing on streaming lately. I've been getting my money up, not my funny up, on some of those other platforms. So, make sure to check me out on Twitch. Check me out on TikTok for like another 6 months before that platform goes. Until then, thanks for watching. See you next time.